This story is part of the Cardinal and Dove series, Before the Carpenter Came, a collection of Old Testament Bible stories that look toward Jesus long before he walked among us. This is the story of Moses and the Red Sea, the way opened between fear and freedom. Have you ever reached a place where turning back felt dangerous, but moving forward felt impossible? A moment when the past was chasing you and the future offered no clear path. This story begins in such a place. In the book of Exodus, the people of Israel had only recently been freed from slavery. For generations they had lived under harsh rule in Egypt, their days shaped by forced labor and fear. God had delivered them by his power, leading them out at last, but freedom was still new and trust was still fragile. They had not yet learned how to live as free people. As they traveled, the sound of danger returned. Pharaoh had changed his mind. The same power that had enslaved them was now pursuing them. Behind them came chariots and soldiers. Ahead of them stretched the Red Sea, wide, deep, and impassable. They were trapped. The people cried out in fear. Some wondered if freedom had been a mistake. Slavery, though cruel, had at least felt familiar. Standing at the water's edge, they could not see a way forward, and they could not go back. But God had not led them there by accident. God told them to stand still. In that stillness, nothing appeared to change. The sea remained, the threat remained. Yet God was at work in a way they could not yet see. He was preparing a path, not around the obstacle, but straight through it. Then, at the moment it was needed, the waters began to part. A way opened where none had existed before. The people stepped forward, walking between walls of water, passing safely through the place that had seemed impossible moments earlier. What had looked like the end became their passage into freedom. Long before the carpenter came, God was already teaching his people something true and lasting. Deliverance does not always remove obstacles from our path. Sometimes God leads us directly into them, and then makes a way through. The people did not cross the sea because they were fearless. They crossed because they trusted God enough to move. Much later, Jesus, the carpenter, would speak of freedom in deeper ways. He would meet people bound by sin, fear, illness, and brokenness. He would lead them not around their struggles, but through them, calling them to trust God's power one step at a time. The Red Sea stands as a reminder that what once held us captive does not have the final word. God's deliverance is stronger than what pursues us, and his power reaches even the places that seem impossible to cross. If you find yourself facing something that feels too large to overcome, an old pattern, a broken relationship, a season of illness, or a struggle you cannot fix, this story speaks gently to you. It reminds us that God specializes in deliverance, that freedom often requires faith, and that the way forward may appear only when we trust him enough to step out. Sometimes God does not lead us around the sea. Sometimes he leads us through it. This story comes from Exodus chapter 14. God's deliverance of his people is fulfilled in Jesus, who leads us out of bondage and into life throughout the Gospels. If this story was meaningful to you, we invite you to like and subscribe so you can continue walking with us through the Before the Carpenter Came series by the Cardinal and Dove. We're glad you're here.